Okay, don't go live. All right, I see folks joining in. Hello, everybody. Make yourself at home. We're just going to let folks stream in here for a moment. All right, hello, hello. Well, friends from around the state, it's great to have you back here for our 51st meeting of the Local Energy Resources Network. It's brought to you by the California Climate and Energy Collaborative. I'm Angie Hacker. I'm your statewide best practices coordinator here with two members of the team, Kelsey and Rochelle, who can help you if you have any needs over chat. While you all are coming in, I want to welcome you to throw your camera on if you're willing to do so, but also introduce yourself over chat would be wonderful. And while you do that, I'm going to just say, hey, happy Heat Pump Week. It's the first Heat Pump Week here in California. You might remember we had Lawrence from the Building Decarbonization Coalition here, I think a month or two ago, talking to us about what that is. What is Heat Pump Week? And we are just wanting to encourage you to also throw in the chat that if you are doing any kind of event or promotion of Heat Pump Week, to share it here so we can all see it. I know we're all trying to build the sort of collective awareness in California about the importance of heat pumps in meeting our emission and building decarbonization goals. So please share those. I'm going to go ahead and share the link that we have. To our publication in Currents, where we did publish an article on Heat Pump Week as well. All right, good to see some of you introducing yourself over chat. Keep coming on in. All right, so let's go ahead and kick off. We have lots to get through today. It's a busy time, and we've got kind of a smorgasbord agenda here. So as usual, we have an hour. This is designed to be a regular space where local governments and their partners can help each other learn about available opportunities to advance your energy and climate goals. I'm going to go through our opportunity roundtable. Those are timely opportunities. We're going to dive deep on a couple of spotlights we want you to be aware of around Plastic Pollution Mitigation Fund and some CEC updates on their electrification summit and benchmarking. Our feature discussions, which are just a little bit longer, are going to be on extreme heat and community resilience grant that's coming out of LCI, so the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, and a little update on the Equitable Building Decarbonization Program. That's a CEC program that's being regionally administered around the state and has gone live. CEC, we've got a couple of updates for you we'll get to by the end. And because it's such a whirlwind time in the legislative session, I know there's a lot of confusion, concerns, and some excitement around the energy bills that are in the session. We wanted to leave some space during our bonus breakout, which is our informal time at the end around noon, to share just pure knowledge. What do you know? So I want you to be ready for that conversation. What do you know? What are you interested in? What do you want to know more about when it comes to this legislative cycle? Okay, so that's the plan for today. Let's go ahead and jump on into the Opportunity Roundtable. If you've just joined us, welcome. Put yourself in the chat, say hello. And also, as we go through this hyperlink cheat sheet on the timely opportunities, I want to encourage you to please also add to it. So if we're missing any opportunities that can help fund your energy and climate initiatives, please drop them here. Okay, so a couple things on the left. I mentioned that there are a lot of things happening in the legislative session. I think we maybe have never been so popular in terms of the energy things we care about in a legislative cycle. But there's two things I wanted to highlight here because they have big implications on funding, which is funding and assistance and the kinds of things that we talk about here at LERN. I'll tell you some good news, I think, first, and that one is on SB 1180. It's blue here, right? Blue is always where we're going to talk about it more later, so we're going to put a pin in it. This one, though, is going to provide the guidelines needed to establish what's already been established in a different bill called the Plastics Pollution Mitigation Fund, which is like $5 billion over 10 years, aimed at communities like yours, including disadvantaged communities and folks that have been burdened by pollution, plastic pollution. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute here. The other one I want to raise, and we'll talk more about that in the bonus breakout, is AB 508. It's led by Hoover, a Republican around the Sacramento area. It passed the Utility and Energy Committee last week. Well, I'm highlighting it here because it does have major implications. It would shift how local energy efficiency programs around the state are funded. And I've seen some opposition letters kind of circulating around and folks in our network that can do that kind of thing. It's one of over 20 bills purporting to address energy affordability. And some of them out there are quite good, but this one is one I think we should talk about maybe in the bonus breakout. Like I said, it would be a major shift in some of the public purpose charge funded programs. And so encourage you all to join us for that conversation, share what you know. All right, let's talk about funding. First opportunity I wanted to highlight here in yellow. At the top there is California Energy Commission opportunity, reliable electric charging for eligible school bus sites. It's called Recess. It would be due June 5th, and there's a pre-application on April 16th. And it is part of the CEC's Clean Transportation Program. There's $22 million in grant funds for projects that will install electric vehicle charging infrastructure for electric school buses. So it's a multi-funding lane grant solicitation. I want to give a pat on the back to whoever at CEC did this because they're basically giving you access to multiple funding sources, both first come, first serve and competitive through one application. You all know I talk a lot about funding access and streamlined deployment, so we like to see this. So I wanted to make sure that was in front of you for those of you who might be working with schools and school buses. The next one I wanted to highlight for you is a CAL FIRE opportunity in forest health. This is actually due June 8th, and it's with $65 million of Prop 4 funding that has been made available to fund active restoration and reforestation activities. And I'm bringing it to your attention. I know a lot of you are kind of hovering between both adaptation and mitigation side of climate. And so some of you might even have wildfire mitigation kind of work in your climate action plans. So it can help mitigate climate change, protect communities from fire risk, strengthen rural economies, and improve California's water and air. And it is eligible for all sorts of sectors, including public agencies and nonprofits. Okay, the next one I wanted to raise here, and just reminding folks that you can add more opportunities in the chat if I missed anything. Another CEC opportunity. This one's kind of cool, I think. Solar PV located on non-traditional terrain called SPLINT. Whoever is doing CEC's acronym game is doing a pretty good job lately. It's due June 9th. So all public and private entities, with the exception of local publicly owned utilities, are eligible. It's to fund applied research and development projects that support EPIC 4, so you guys know the EPIC program. And let's see, it is intending to accelerate advancements in renewable generation technologies and demonstrate cost reductions and increase energy output for utility scale solar installations paired with battery energy systems. So funded projects must enhance additional benefits for local communities and ecosystems to reduce barriers to streamline solar photovoltaic and storage installations. So there's $6 million available here. There's different funding groups. The one I want to really highlight for you all is $1 to $2 million in Group 1 to optimization of non-traditional PV solar. So this is talking about innovations to improve utility scale solar, PV generation, and energy storage in non-traditional locations. So they're encouraging you to apply the latest research and technology developments to benefit farmers, developers, rural cooperatives, tribal governments, and disadvantaged and low-income communities. So an interesting one, I think, to take a look at. I've seen some cool examples and case studies of projects around the state that are doing some, different kinds of positioning of their solar on non-traditional places, even floating solar. Okay, so those are a couple of funding opportunities I wanted to raise. I have this one in blue next on the horizon. We're going to hear about it, so put a pin in this on LCI's Extreme Heat and Community Resilience Program. That's one of our featured discussions of the day. I wanted to mention too that that this should be not CEC, this should be SEEK. We are doing a meeting on our regional energy and climate hubs that we have been developing over the last few years. And so this will be a meeting, and some of you have received an invitation that follows up on convenings that we held in collaboration with LCI And SGC, the Catalyst convenings that they host, we're following up on those with everything we know about those regions, what we collected from the input, regional landscape analyses, regional assistance guides. We want to share with you what we have built and how we have established hubs now in San Diego, LA, and Bay Area. So that's on April 20th. Maybe Kelsey or Rochelle can drop their emails in there. If you haven't received an invitation, you'd like to come, we're happy to invite you. We also wanted to share with you that we have submitted a couple of recent comments to the California Energy Commission. You can see all of our comments at the webpage that's going to get dropped into the chat. Recently, we commented on SB 100 Joint Agency Report Draft and the Draft Building Energy Action Plan. So you're welcome to look at those. We're going to talk a little bit later about the CCEC Forum coming up June 24th and 25th. Early registration is open now. We want you to start registering, but also when you do, we want locals to make sure to register for June 23rd. That's when we're having our state and local energy and climate coordination meeting this year. So the day before, so I wanted to highlight that for you as you make travel plans. Come the day before. It's kind of a locals only day, but we're going to have our state folks there too. All right, so this next one is a transition. So Cali PA is technically in charge of the SB 54 implementation but we're going to talk about what's coming next. So if we can go ahead and go to our next slide. Great. All right. I'm not sure many of you have heard of this SB 54. It's legislation that was passed previously. And what it did was quite a few things. One of the things it did, kind of a hallmark of it, is it established a plastic pollution mitigation fund. Like I said, it's going to be funded at about $500 million a year from 2027 to 2037 by producers of single-use plastic materials. And so it's being administered and led by the California EPA in partnership with CNRA, Strategic Growth Council, I think, and a couple of other agencies. Adrian here from SGC is going to help clarify anything else on this, but all these organizations are going to oversee this fund's implementation. What does that mean? It means we're actually going to see some grants come out of this over the course of time. And it's a nice one because it's not a one-time grant funded thing. What I wanted to share with you is what kind of activities we might anticipate being funded out of this. And really what I want you to know is that there are formal engagement opportunities happening now. And you guys on the ground, because I don't know, it is environmental restoration. I know that's part of what you all might be doing in your communities, but it also probably has implications on your climate action plan implementation. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of this and that you have opportunities to shape how the Plastic Pollution Mitigation Fund, not only what it funds, but how it gets deployed. And so there's some encouraging, I think, news around that. There was a kickoff webinar on March 26th. You have access to that recording. Right now there is a survey. I have it highlighted here. We'll drop it in the chat. That survey is a great way to register your input on this, or you can actually just email them directly. You should also, if you're really interested in this, join their listserv. And then be aware that SB 1180, written by Senator Allen, who we generally think does great things, it proposes guidelines for the implementation of PPMF, the Plastic Pollution Mitigation Fund, which I think has some things that I really like in it, including requiring that the agencies that administer these dollars are creating a streamlined, I think, centralized application system and also providing technical assistance. So some encouraging things there. I do wish that it was a little bit broader in terms of the kinds of things it can fund, but it's proposed legislation now. We'll see if it gets amended at all. I think I'll hand it over to Adrian now to give us a little bit more of a flavor on what can be funded and anything else we need to know.
Hi, everyone. Adrian Moretz, Special Advisor with the California Strategic Growth Council. Thank you, Angie, for giving such a great primer. I do want to hone in on some of Angie's points, but in very fast fashion here. So I will be dropping in ways to contact the interagency team as a whole and me personally at the end. So look forward to some links in the chat. But SB 54 is technically called the Plastic Pollution Prevention and Packaging Producer Responsibility Act. So a mouthful. That's why you keep hearing it referred to just SB 54. Is passed in 2022, and it basically is this landmark law that really goes further than any other state in single-use plastic reduction. And it essentially shifts the burden of plastic disposal from us as consumers and taxpayers onto the companies or producers. And so those producers will start to pay into a fund starting in July 2027, so essentially next fiscal year. And that fund will be $500 million per year, every year for the next 10 years. So again, just reiterating Angie's point here that this is a significant amount of money that the state will administer. The purpose of the fund, which is Plastic Pollution Mitigation Fund, or PPMF, which is what I'm focused on and our interagency team, is to mitigate the impacts of plastic pollution on tribes, communities, environment, address current and historical environmental concerns related to plastic, protect public health of communities and tribes that are disproportionately impacted by plastic pollution. Apologies. And the fund is split into two different parts. You can see on Angie's screen, the bottom left, 60% of this fund, or $300 million per year, are for mitigating historical and current environmental justice and public health impacts on our communities, tribal entities, and disproportionately impacted by plastic. SGC is named as an implementer on this portion of the fund, along with CNRA and Cal EPA and Department of Justice. There is another part of the fund, 40%, that's focused to restore and protect the natural environment. Cal EPA and CNRA, with their boards, departments, and offices, are responsible for implementing that part of the fund. So what this means is that our interagency team of the agencies I just mentioned are developing what could be, and we've kicked off this kind of outreach and engagement opportunity for you to support that. We know we want to engage communities, prioritize community-led solutions, provide meaningful benefits, deliver environmental health and economic benefits, but, and we have tons to go on in terms of programs we have established, work that you have done in your communities, and things you have told us. But to give us a frame of reference, we have developed about 7 broad potential funding categories to kind of spark ideas for you as you're submitting your interest and priorities back to us as we develop this fund. Again, these are very broad categories. They're not exclusive. They're really just to spark what could be. So things like outreach and education, research and monitoring. We know our state scientists and colleagues really don't exactly know how to effectively mitigate the impacts of plastics once it's entered our environment. So opportunities to continue that research, helping the community understand environmental public health impacts of plastic on their full life cycle. Can also think about public health and exposure reduction, community-led design, so similar to SGC's TCC program, where you as community develop strategies that will reduce plastic reduction, removal, remediation, public infrastructure, which would be more along the lines of like filtration systems to protect groundwater, and of course things like technical assistance and capacity building that support most disadvantaged communities in accessing these funds to begin with, which think about grant writing, partnership development, addressing staff capacity. What generally is not funded under the PPMF or fund are things that the producers are responsible for. Again, the producers are part of SB 54 as a whole, and the fund is a subset of that. So generally things that the producers are responsible for and not the fund are things like waste management and recycling infrastructure needed to achieve reusability, source reduction efforts, and the like. I know that's a ton of information I gave to you in a very short window, so I will say that the link Angie has on the slide here, and I will drop this in a chat, is our website, which includes general information about the fund, FAQs, the online survey where you can participate and share what your strategies and priorities are, but also how the fund should be structured. We know you have lots of experience in applying for grants yourselves. So the website is really a home for you to get that information. You can also access our public webinar slides as well as a recording where we went into more detail on the categories I just mentioned, because it's a lot of information and again, just a starting point. So we'd love to have you contribute to those things between now and the end of June-ish as the interagency team is preparing for an investment plan. I'm going to drop some of the links in the chat, and apologies for me going so quickly, but we're really excited to have you contribute and participate in the development of this fund. I'm going to put my personal email as well as the PPMF interagency email, which goes to all of us across agency, so you can connect with us directly. We'd love to hear from you, encourage you to participate in the survey and some of the in-person and hybrid roundtables we have coming up. I know I went way over 3 minutes, so apologies, Angie, and thank you so much for allowing me to share more information about the fund.
Thanks, Adrienne. All right, we'll keep you posted as more happens there. I'm hawkeyeing that one because that's $5 billion is nothing to shake a stick at, guys. Okay, let's move on to our next spotlight, and I'm really happy to be able to welcome Gabriel Taylor and Joanna F. Saunders from the CEC to give us a couple of updates.
Morning, everyone. Thanks so much. Thanks, Angie, for organizing these. So quick, just headline here, the California Energy Commission and Electric Power Research Institute will be hosting our annual electrification summit, semi-annual electrification summit again this year. It'll be a one-day event this year. It's open to the public on Wednesday, June 10th. I'm going to put the link to our website in the chat there. The registration link's at the bottom of the page. There's no charge. Please register and check out the webpage for a little more information. Hope to see you there. And Joanna?
Thanks, Gabe. Hi, everyone. Joanna Saunders. I'm just here to remind everyone that our annual energy benchmarking reporting deadline is coming up on June 1st. If you're not already familiar, all buildings over 50,000 square feet in the state of California are required to send their annual energy usage to the CEC unless they're located in a jurisdiction that has received an exemption. Those include Berkeley, Brisbane, Chula Vista, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, and San Jose. But every other large building in the state is required to report this data to us. We're really focused on increasing compliance. And so we are particularly interested in working with local jurisdictions, anyone who might interact with building owners or managers that may be subject to this benchmarking requirement, see if there are opportunities for us to come and talk to those building owners or get plugged into networks or work directly with localities to try and identify non-compliant building owners. I'll put my contact information in the chat as well as the benchmarking help desk information. We're really trying to increase overall compliance. We made a pretty significant effort last year, and we're really trying to avoid getting to any levels of enforcement and fines. We really just want to have people do this voluntarily and see the benefits of it. So again, if there's any opportunities for the CEC to get in front of building owners or managers, we would love to get connected. And thanks for giving us time, Angie.
Thanks, Joanna and Gabe. Really happy to have you here. If you guys have questions for Adrienne, Gabe, or Joanna, they're going to stick around for a bit. Drop them in the chat. And do sign up for that electrification summit. And Joanna and I are going to be chatting more about ways that CEC can help kind of spread the word to locals. So more to come. All right. So those are the ends of our spotlights. We're going to take a little bit more time on the next couple of topics. And so this next one is with our new friend, Kelly Meza Prado. She's California's Extreme Heat Grant Program lead with the California Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. You've probably been hearing, at least me, ramble on about this grant because it's a big deal. And so she's going to tell you all about it. It's about to hit the streets, right, Kelly?
Hi, Angie, that's right. I have 10 minutes on the clock, so I have a lot of ground to cover. Thank you so much for having us. This is the Extreme Heat and Community Resilience Program, and we are in our round 2 of funding. Next, please. So today I just want to touch on 3 points. I'll give you a little bit of background on the program. We're relatively new. We'll talk about round 2, and then I'll open the floor for questions and answers. Next. So for those of you who are a bit unfamiliar with the program, we sit within LCI and we broadly work on two areas: policy. We're updating California's Extreme Heat Action Plan together with the California Natural Resource Agency. And we're also deploying the Cal Heat Score together with OIHA. On the ground side, we have round one already being implemented on the ground, and we are preparing to launch round two, which is the topic of today. Next. So for round one, we had $32 million awarded across 45 grants in 23 counties. Those that are in orange are where we are currently present. And if you want to know a little bit more about what our projects are doing on the ground, this is the website where you can read a brief summary of each one of our 45 projects. Now, for round two, we have $27.5 million. And this time that is being funded by the Greenhouse Reduction Fund and Proposition 4. All of this funding is aimed at infrastructure for extreme heat, and we're expecting, depending on the requests of each ward, we're expecting around 20 grants. Next, please. So a little bit more of what you need to know about the program. Everything from our application design to how the grants are going to be selected are anchored around 4 values. Harm reduction, because that's the DNA of our program. We have an urgency to reduce immediate heat-related illness and death. And we do this through partnerships. We recognize that effective solutions require both community knowledge and institutional capacity. We want to make sure that infrastructure really ensures that there are long-term investments and are designed with and for the people who use them. And we want to make sure that they have lasting community benefits. So the investment should extend beyond immediate outputs to contribute to sustained change. Next, please. For this round, we have 2 project types. The first one is early infrastructure, and this is really aimed at people early on their thinking about extreme heat infrastructure. It really is for developing plans that are grounded on pilots or demonstrations of the infrastructure, which will be key components to inform the final planning product. And for the advanced infrastructure, those are for those projects that are ready to be rolled out based on planning and that demonstrate that the construction can happen within the 48 months of the grant time frame. Next, please. So in terms of award amounts, if you've been following us for a while, this has changed a little bit thanks to your comments. For early infrastructure, you can request between $600K and $1 million. For that demonstration or pilot project that I was telling you about, we are requiring that around 25 to 60% of that funding be invested on that demonstration infrastructure. Partnerships should receive at least 15% of the budget, and then belonging, which is ensuring that the infrastructure is for those people that will use it, is around 5% of the budget. And then on the other side of the coin, we have the advanced infrastructure. Again, this also has changed. Now you can request between 2.5 and $4 million per project. 70% of that should be dedicated to the infrastructure because advanced infrastructure, we are aiming at really focusing on extreme heat infrastructure for cooling, so they are more expensive. And in terms of partnerships, we are requiring 10% of that be dedicated to partnerships. And then for the belonging component, we are requiring that 5% be aimed towards that. Early projects, for early infrastructure, we have 30-month projects, and for the advanced, because of the nature of infrastructure, the grants will last 48 months, will be 48 months projects. Next, please. What are we funding? These are just examples. Our draft of the guidelines have a lot more examples, but we really are opening to that we are drafting the guidelines to be very flexible in terms of what we can fund, but we really are funding built environment solutions and nature-based solutions. Cool surfaces and corridors, transit and public spaces, buildings and homes, energy resilience, agricultural and rural workers, cooling hubs. And on the opposite side, we have canopy expansion, everything that is green infrastructure, green surfaces, green roofs and walls, water and blue spaces, green space restoration. And of course, we have indigenous knowledge and stewardship-based projects as well. Next, please. In terms of our funding goals, as I said before, we are funded by Prop 4 money, and that money requires us to meet certain criteria. 40% of our budget should be distributed among disadvantaged communities and vulnerable populations, and 10% of that 40% must be dedicated to benefit severely disadvantaged communities, also known as SDACs. So the way that we are going to be distributing additional points is as follows. California Native American tribes will have 15 points. If you happen to be a severely disadvantaged community, you will also get 15 points. A disadvantaged community will be awarded 10 points. And if you prove that you're a vulnerable population, you will have 12 points. Now, the common question here is, how do I prove that I'm a vulnerable population? And because we are an extreme heat project, we are leaning very much on the VCP, on the Vulnerable Communities platform that was just released by LCI. And if you fall within these three categories, high climate hazard and high social vulnerability, medium climate hazard and high social vulnerability, and high climate hazard and medium social vulnerability, you will get the 12 points. How do I know if I get those 12 points? I have put a screenshot of the vulnerable community platforms here on the right, where you can see how your community fares in regards to how they are affected by extreme heat and the vulnerabilities that they have for that. All right, next. So applicants and co-applicants. Unlike our first round, we are requiring that co-applicants are a requirement. So here I'm listing, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'm listing the types of partnerships that are possible within this round. So if you are, for example, a local or regional public entity, you must partner with a community-based organization or a California Native American tribe to qualify. I'm listing here the other possible pairings. And in terms of CBO requirements, and this comes again as a result of your comments and lessons learned from round one, community-based organizations should be within 100 miles of the project site. And if you are a CBO and you do not meet that, it means that you still need to partner with another CBO to make sure that 100-mile office rule still applies. And this is just to make sure that the community-based organizations on the ground are prioritized as partners rather than having organizations outside the local areas where the project is taking place. Next, please. What is the application process? We'll have two pre-application windows. The first one is really for those that require technical assistance requests. And the second one will be, it's for those that do not require technical assistance. You can apply to either one. And the goal of this is that you are provided with feedback on your initial ideas. So you will provide your project name, type of project that you're applying to, a brief summary of your project infrastructure, and based on that, you will receive feedback on where in your idea you need more improvement or whether or not this is a good fit for the program. And then based on that, anyone who provides a pre-application form will have access to the full application form. Next. And this is just an overview of what you will be requiring for the full application form. And again, if you go back to the values, it's really about how your project meets those values that are what's guiding the whole program designed for round two. You will have to answer to harm reduction questions, collaboration questions, community lasting benefits, and belonging questions as well as your work plan and budgets. Next, please. In terms of the scoring, which is another question that we receive often, it's out of 100 points. The narrative section will be 70% of the total scoring, and your workbook section, which has your work plan and your budget, will be 30 points. As you can see, there is a distribution of 12 points and 15 points for all the values questions that I talked about at the beginning. And this is about fitness, how your proposed infrastructure solution really aligns with the goals of the program. Next, please. I know I have less than 1 minute left, so I'm going to finish up with a timeline. We are aiming to release our guidelines and NOFA late spring or early summer. The pre-application opens again on the summer, and you'll receive feedback on that. We're aiming to close full applications in early fall and making announcements on early 2027. Next, please. Now, how do you get connected? Please scan that QR code. We communicate every single update through our newsletter, but you can also connect with us via social media. And I'm also leaving here the official Extreme Heat's email address. If you have any questions, we have one person dedicated to answer any questions related to the grant program. And please follow us also on social media, and we'll be behind you to answer any questions that you may have. All right, this is all. I know this is a lot of information. We have a lot more details on our website, but for now, I'm more than happy to answer to any question you may have.
All right, let's take a couple of questions here. And I see some in the chat. Also, thank you, Kelly, for that. That was great. I really want to get this out in front of you guys so you can be preparing now. There's enough information now that you could actually be taking a look and seeing how you might, whether this is a deal, is this a go or no go for you, and start collecting your partners. Also want to mention the Community Resilience Center grant. I don't want you to be confused. There's two different things happening here. That one's at a Strategic Growth Council that would fund, it's infrastructure related as well, but it's Community Resilience Center. So know that that's also coming, we think later in summer or fall. But this opportunity is a little bit different and specifically through LCI. So let's take a question or two. Tessa's asking, did I hear you say advanced infrastructure is 48 months? It had been 30 months. So did that change?
Yes, it has changed, and that's very much due to your comments, public comments. We realized that 30 months was very little time, especially because of the permits taking a long time.
Yeah.
So we have extended it to 48 months.
Great.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, Tessa. Roxanne is asking for advanced infrastructure projects. Are they required to take the full 48 months, or can they have a shorter timeline if they don't need the full 48?
So once you go into contract, you will sign up for a 48 contract. If you're done with your project ahead of that time, you're still in contract with us. We just run 2 standard contracts in order to avoid amending contracts. And that's a lesson from round 1. The estimation that people have for finishing their projects is actually very, very changeable. So everyone is entering in those 48 contracts as a measure of precaution. But yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you.
So folks are asking for a link. I dropped one to the general web page, and it sounds like the QR code's been deactivated. So Kelly, could you just drop a new link, and you may just want to drop the right email address in there too, so people can access it. There's a question from Pam. Did you add residential interventions to the grant eligibility?
Yes, that is very much part of the qualifying projects.
Okay, well, I see some other questions here. So we're going to do 2 things. One is Kelly's around to help answer questions in the chat, and we can also take some more over the bonus breakout if we would like to, because I want to make sure we have enough time for our next topics as well. So I want to say thanks so much to Kelly, and folks are even saying awesome job in here in the chat. So sounds like y'all have been working really hard on this one. Thanks for getting it out and almost live and on the streets. We'll make sure to keep you all posted when it drops. All right. Okay, so our next speaker, we're very fortunate to have Luana Medina. She's the Environmental Initiatives Division Manager with LA County with us, and we've asked her because she's also the lead for the SoCal Equitable Building Decarbonization Program to give us some updates on the launch of that program and some what's going on the ground in these 3 regions where EBD is being administered. So thanks for coming, Luana.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
And can you guys hear me okay? I'm actually in a doctor's office, but I didn't want to cancel. So I'm not
Yeah,
going to go
thank
on
you. Yeah.
camera because I'm in a dermatology appointment. Um, but let me give you the gist and the update. Is it okay if I share my screen, Angie?
Yes, the team might need to give you access, but
Okay.
you should be able to.
So I have a few slides, and some of this you may have already heard, but just wanted to give you an update since we have officially launched as of March 30th. That means the full program for the Southern California region is in the market, and those eligible can enroll into the program. Okay, so I can just share my screen. Here we go. So yeah, just ignore all this stuff I have open. So let's talk a little bit about it. And apologies if I haven't updated this slide particularly. For those of you, just a reminder, the EBD Direct Install Program was authorized 2 years ago and was solicited by the CEC. I know that sounds a long time ago, but it did take time to develop the program and get approvals from the California Energy Commission. We were awarded the Southern California region, meaning we, the Los Angeles County, as the administrator through a coalition of partners. We were awarded $329 million to implement and administer the direct install program. We were able to, solidify a coalition called the SoCal EBD Coalition. And this consists of about 26 to 28 partners, which is still growing. So we're hoping to reach up to 32 shortly. And all of these partners are key members to this program in implementing kind of boots on the ground implementation. Now we're covering 9 sub-regions throughout Southern California. Here in the map, you can see we're all the way up to San Bernardino, all the way down to Imperial County, San Diego County, Orange County, LA County, and Riverside. And of course, because LA is so densely populated, we had to break that up into 3 separate regions, really due to the densely population. But you can see, and of these, we're serving 36 initial community focus areas. Now, our residential decarbonization program is really centered on, providing low income eligible to moderate income households, single family, multifamily, manufactured homes, direct install, which is no cost upgrades to decarbonize or electrify their home. It's really based on a single point of contact model, what we called originally the decarb concierge, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And really on localized outreach and education. So boots on the ground are community-based organization or trusted partners. We don't want that cold sales lead type of administration. And of course, workforce capacity building. We want to make sure we're building the local workforce and they're being able to take advantage of those project opportunities. Because what we see in other programs, especially large programs such as this, is they tend to go to like one implementer or one installer who's really large, and that's great, but we're not really building the workforce within that community if that's the model we use. So we wanted to make sure we use a model that's more localized. So here's just an update on, the different layering and leveraging we're going to be taking in consideration. And of course, all the upgrades that are possible within a property. They include weatherization, heat pumps, both HVAC and water heating. They include cooktop, electric laundry, LED lighting, solar PV. Now you'll see these other items. They're not funded by the program, but what we're doing is we're layering with other administrators who offer EV charging and solar PV battery storage. And for those properties that are eligible, we are working with them to incorporate that into the house as well. Now, those type of layering is all done through an automated tool that's being built by Rock Rabbit. So we're able to identify quickly what homes are eligible to participate in other programs. And what's great about this program is taking that model where the customer doesn't have to apply across multiple programs themselves. Our team and our program does it for them. So all they have to do is say, I want to participate in EBD, and then they actually become eligible to multiple programs across. And it's a one-stop shop instead of having them to try to figure out all the necessary paperwork. We do that all behind the scenes, kind of like I always tell people, it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? We're behind the curtain. We're the Oz behind the curtain, making these things possible for these homeowners and these property owners. Here's just a brief launch timeline. I don't know if you guys can see it. We're just talking about, how the community partners were trained, community engagement is building, household enrollments began this month. We're training all the assessors. We're also hoping to start home assessments and then dispatching retrofits in May. Here's our targets. Now, I would just say this is what we have as of now. However, we have been told by the state there is a budget rejection for 27-28. So this is likely to change. They're contemplating reducing us by 42 million. But we won't know for sure for a couple of weeks. So let's talk about some of the items in our program. The program advisor, like I mentioned, is a single point of contact. It really is the hand-holding and trusted person throughout the project lifecycle and really helps to give comfort and security for that homeowner or property owner and understanding that, regardless of them participating in the program, they will have somebody that can communicate with them in real time about all aspects of the project and then answer their questions. A lot of programs say, oh yeah, we do that. But I've participated in programs and they don't do that. I can verify that a majority of programs don't do that. They don't do the heavy lifting or the hand holding, at least not on a constant basis, because it costs money, right? And what we see is programs are constantly being forced to cut costs and thus cut support services to customers. Area coordinators are also incorporated into the program, and they're working directly with the community partners to help serve their communities directly so that a community partner always has a single point of contact to assist them not only in engaging in their community, but maybe they need more training or education and outreach support, and the area coordinator is supporting them in that way. And then, of course, the workforce. We built a separate portal. So we have customers enrolling in an application portal, but we also have small business contractors enrolling in a portal. So what we're looking at is making sure that each sub-region, like I mentioned, there's 9 sub-regions, have workforce or installers for each trade that is needed that can be dispatched into the program. Now, these particular contractors have to be licensed and certified and then trained, but if we do find that certain contractors are not licensed or don't have the proper certifications, SoCalREN is going to step in and get that for them. So we're going to help them get that certification and training so then they can be dispatchable in the EBD program. Because what we want to do is tie in to the state that as you build programs, you build jobs, and you need to have that direct link between the two. And here's just another example about how we built a portal for them, and it's really hands-on and easy to use, and we're giving a lot of training so that they feel comfortable working in our program. Just a little bit about community eligibility. Of course, we're focused on under-resourced communities. Household property types are single-family, multifamily, and manufactured home. Eligible fuel types include natural gas, propane, or any other fossil fuel. And then income eligibility, of course, for single family, they must be less or equal to the 80% of the local area median income. We're also using different types of verification and different programs, and we're making it very easy for individuals to provide that documentation, either by phone, text, or email. Now, I wanted to just address, this is our first Rapid Start project. This project started in October. So the full launch of the program was March 30th, as I mentioned, but we were able to initiate kind of a lessons learned project. We're kind of working through. So this first project is in San Diego. It's a multifamily low income housing. And we will be doing heat pump water heaters, induction ranges in all the units, new wiring. And yeah, hopefully it should be completed by the end of this month, early May. And then we're hoping to have a ribbon cutting to demonstrate to the community this new retrofit. Our next steps, of course, is the enrollment. As I mentioned, that goal we have to meet by November 2029. And then we're doing more and more community outreach to small business contractors to get them enrolled into the program. And that's it. That's my spiel. Any questions? Hold on, let me see if I can exit this. I probably went through it way fast. Are you guys still there?
Yes, thank you, Luana. You're a pro. Can't believe you're sitting in a doctor's office right now and just delivered that presentation. We really appreciate you making the time to do it. And just want to say, back in the day when CEC was coming up with their EBD program and maybe tying it out with some of the federal dollars, SEEK was very loud, sort of encouraging CEC to really look at local and regional based administrators for this program because y'all are doing the work already, have decades of experience, and are really positioned to do this really well. This like really community engaged process where you're deeply connected to the workforce. So we're really happy to see this go live and happy that the locals and other folks around the state are involved. I did drop a link in the chat for folks to the CEC statewide link, the webpage where you can take a look at who your regional administrator would be.
Let me answer. There's a couple of questions Angie can answer real quick. The funds do include panel upgrades, but what we're going to try to do is leverage Edison's and any of the other utility or muni upgrade incentive dollars, so that we could maximize the number of households we reach. But yes, it does include panel upgrades and it does include remediation up to 9,500, depending on the home. Actually, it could actually go higher than that because that's an annual average cap that we have to maintain. So as we see homes, we're tracking that. But we definitely won't, just say no because of some remediation concerns. We'll definitely work to identify if that home can be completed regardless. Are all of the sub-regional concierge known? No, they are not. In fact, we do have a couple of gaps. So we are looking for those program advisors through CBOs. We want them to be based out of community-based organizations because the other objective of this program is to help build capacity for local nonprofits, so they can continue this work long after the program is in the room. Hopefully I answered. But is the timeline from all regions or just the southern region? This, unfortunately, I've only discussed is the southern region. I do believe, though, the other regions, actually, let me take that back. Northern has launched. Central is scheduled for Q3, I believe, this year. Well, I think Tom has an excellent question. He said, will EBD model mitigate impacts on residential utility bills? That is a great question. And I would say, Tom, it depends because the problem is, with electrification, you are adding energy burden. However, depending on the utility or the muni, some have offered more equitable rates for electrification if you go all electric. But what we are doing is, I can tell you right now, we're optimizing each project to ensure that the least amount of impact is burdened on that household, meaning we want to maximize GHG, but we also understand that homes will be overly burdened by the electrification. So we need to ensure that what is being proposed is best suited for that customer or household. So we'll look at does it make sense to do HVAC combined with the water heating, or maybe it's only water heating that makes sense, or vice versa, right? And really looking at what are all the energy efficiency applications we can also apply to drive down those costs. And then where appropriate, what about solar storage? Are they eligible? Does their roof, is it able to sustain something, and would they be eligible for the current free programs? So that's like what we're looking at to optimize. We are looking at developing a bill impact tool. So each homeowner will get a high performance home plan. That's what we're calling it. And we have a kitchen table discussion with them, and we sit down and show them the options, but we also show them their bill impact. So they will have an analysis of what the electrification costs will have on their utility bill. Of course, this is just an approximate, and we'll have to teach them a lot of behavioral energy efficiency measures that will have to be applied once we leave, but we do have that in the project closeout. And let's see, we'll reach out to discuss tech initiatives and the grantees doing outreach on electrification. Oh my gosh, I have to leave soon. Pam, is there an exception to the 100 miles CBO office in very robust? That part I don't know, actually, Pam. That's the first question I've seen on that one. And that one, just to confirm, a CBO is a nonprofit. If that nonprofit serves more than one community, this works. Yes, Tessa, you are correct. CBOs are working on more than one community in some regions, correct. And sorry, the doctor just knocked in. Sorry, I gotta go see.
It's okay, Luana. It's okay. That was perfect. Thank you
That
so
was
much
it.
for doing
Okay.
that. And
Yeah,
you may want to just drop the email address for where folks can
yeah,
contact whoever you'd like them to.
I will.
Yeah, that'd be great. And that was a great update. Thank you so much. It's really perfect timing on heat pump week here to hear a little bit more about some of the early
Yeah,
wins.
excited. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks, you all. I hope you have a great day, everyone.
Bye, Luana. Okay, so let's go into that was great. I wish she was sticking around because I know there's few more questions in the chat. We could take it into overtime if we need to, but I'm going to hand off now for just a couple of Seek updates here before we close out our formal session. Then we'll go to our bonus breakout in just a moment here. So, Kels.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I wanted to remind you all that registration for SEEK is open. We hope that you register soon. We will be increasing the rates to regular registration rates in 2 weeks. So if you know you're coming, I recommend you register now. And the other thing, Angie, I just don't think I have enough time to do the other thing. So I'm going to uh
Okay, I'll
yeah.
mention a little something here, which is really wanted to encourage folks here again. When you register, and we think it's going to be a great big one, a great big forum again, I want to highlight that if you are a local government or a state government person, we would really like you to attend on the 23rd, our SLEEK meeting. That's the State and Local Energy and Climate Coordination meeting. When you register, you'll have the option. So it starts at 2 o'clock on the 23rd, and there will be like an optional evening fun reception at the end. And that's going to be an opportunity to provide all sorts of interesting input on the 3 priority areas that SLEEK is focused on this year. So please join us. And one of the things we're going to be doing at that SLEEK meeting is debuting what we're working on, which is an assistance marketplace, which is taking from all of the work we've been doing and building out those regional energy and climate hubs around the state, all of the assistance providers that we have come across that are providing technical assistance, incentives, funding, and other things that are helping folks like you in regions be able to advance your work on energy, climate, and land use work. So we're basically compiling that into sort of a finding tool, and we'll build upon it from there. But we want to show that to you, get maybe a little bit of feedback on a beta version of an assistance marketplace. Point there is kind of the point behind SLEEK and REACH in general, which is like, how do we better leverage what already exists and encourage collaboration, because so many of you have things, but we need to sustain those things better and ideally make those more durable kind of infrastructure around regions. So anyways, come join us. We would love to have you. That's the point on that one.
And I'll say on a super quick logistical thing, when you register for SEEK, if you are a local or regional government, you will be prompted to come to SLEEK. So that's how you register for it.
Okay, we're excited. We're going to Hollywood. Let's go to the next slide. All right, last slide is just thanks for coming. We're going to bonus breakouts next. Our next meeting is on the 12th. You can always share this invitation with other folks. We continue to sort of grow and expand. We have like 8 people registered for this series. So if you have ideas for what you want us to talk about next time, we are always all ears, and folks do continue to come to us looking to share here. So we will, if you have to drop at the top of the hour here, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time. And otherwise, we're going to go into our bonus breakout. Bonus breakout